Hey all, Mark Vega here. Welcome to Run Long After 60. If you're new, so glad you found us. If you're not new, well, you know how this goes. Every episode of the Run Long After 60 podcast starts with me on a run. Not behind a desk, not in a studio, but moving. This podcast is about showing up. It's about resilience and consistency. And really, no matter the age, it's about movement. What it's really about, though, I suppose, is about how we see ourselves as we age. I'm 62 right now. 62. I couldn't be happier about it. But I only started running long distances in the last year. How do you like that? Of course, my definition of what's long might have changed as well. But this channel has two different goals. First goal is to run long after 60. So after people are 60 years old, just keep moving, that's all. But then the second goal is to run long after 60. And that's the one that really got me excited. Because I saw someone in their 60s passing the 92-mile mark at the Leona Divide 100-mile race in 2024. And I thought, Mark, you can't be done running. You've done your 50Ks and you've had fun, but you can't be finished. Why? Why stop? And so in answer to that question, I did start running. And in answer to the question of how in the world can older people be so deliberate, conscientious, committed, when I saw some runners in their 60s finishing one of the great new long distance runs, the Cocodona 250. That's what really lit the fuse. And so this podcast is my version of me finding and celebrating those athletes, because they are all athletes. No matter how fast you're running, how much earth you cover over a period of time, that doesn't matter. Because as we age, we've got to keep moving to stay vital and alive and plugged in. And that's the goal. That's the objective. Now, occasionally, we meet someone who locally is a legend. And sometimes on the podcast, we've met a few. Today's guest is Leslie Cohen. And she is a legend, not just locally. She just turned 70. And so from an age group perspective, that's a big bonus. But her age groups travel in increments of 5 years. Because when you're in the marathon game or shorter distances, you're tracked according to, for example, age 60 to 64, 65 to 69, 70 to 74, and on and on. I've known Leslie for years. She's a well-regarded bankruptcy lawyer in Los Angeles. If that's not enough, though, she is a marathoner at the elite level that only started running after she was 50. Wow. If that's not a story I can embrace, I don't know what is. She's 70 now, but she feels like she really started to come into her own in 2019. So she was already in her 60s. And her stats and data demonstrate all that. But for the last 13, 14 years, she's also put on a run, a race walk in Santa Monica called the 310K. And the community she's built and the charities she's served or who have been beneficiary of her efforts are growing. It's when we see runners doing hard things and serving their community that really drives home the inspiration and the gratitude. And that's what Leslie represents. A big community, people who support the community. Her family's involved. I love that part. Because she's been doing this for years, she also drops a lot of truths and wisdom bombs that we can pick up along the way in this conversation. So if you're picking up the vibes I'm putting down, if you understand the power of perseverance, you're like a little inspiration and you're like reflection upon the things we do. Because let's face it, all the guests I interview, we could talk for days, because once you are up in years, we've all got so many stories. So this podcast can't cover all of them, but we do strive to allow us to be reflective and then find the place of gratitude for all of it, for all the stories. Okay. All right, I think that's it. You ready? Because I'm ready. It's time for Leslie Cohen. Let's go, let's go, let's go. Welcome to another episode of the Run Long After 60 podcast. Now, it's not every day we get to speak with a local legend, and it's not every day we get to speak with a local legend who is not just a legend for running, but for community service, lawyering. Can you believe that? You actually can get accolades for that, and we've got one of those on the podcast today. This is Leslie Cohen. Leslie, thank you for joining. It's really good to see you here today.
My pleasure. I'm very happy to be here. So thanks for inviting me.
Excellent. Now, they say that you say that aging is voluntary. What?
Right, that's correct.
What? What does that mean? Where did that come from? Talk to us about that right out of the gate.
So, quick story. I run with the Run Tech Club on Fridays, and one of my friends there is very philosophical, and he asked me one day, "Why do you keep competing and racing like all the time? Like, what drives you?" I'm like, "I don't know. I just kind of want to see what I can do." And see how fast I can go. And he was like, "Well, why?" And it just literally just fell out of my mouth. I didn't think of it ahead. I was like, because I want to prove that aging is voluntary. I don't even know why I thought of that in that moment, but that's how it came up. And that's been my strategy. We hear a lot of people complain that, oh, I'm old. People in their 30s complain that they're old, and that doesn't get you anywhere. And I do think it's a choice. You have a choice of an attitude, how you want to feel about things, how you want to approach life. And I choose to view aging as a voluntary act that I wish to avoid.
All right. That sounds solid. That's solid indeed. How many years had you been running, or rather, how long ago was that when your friend said, why? Why? He wasn't a toddler, though that's a favorite question of toddlers. So why?
It was
Why is
probably
aging
6, 8 months
voluntary?
ago, just recently, probably 6, 8 months ago.
Oh, my goodness.
So,
Leslie, I've known you for a number of years, and that phrase seems to fit you like a glove. I had no idea. Boy, I'm glad I didn't put a bet on it. I thought this was an old phrase that's like
no,
lived for a long time.
no.
Wow. Okay. Well, I know you because you're a lawyer, a bankruptcy lawyer in Los Angeles, and have been for many years. You have your own firm. Um, the coolest thing about the most powerful professionals I know, maybe it says more about me than them, I'm not sure, is that they are women. We've got women professionals who are not finally, who are making the biggest strides, changing the biggest problems, tackling the biggest issues. And you've been practicing law for a long, long time.
Yeah.
And did gender barriers from a young age, did those harden your competitiveness? Because you just said you're competitive.
First of all, I don't think you needed to retract the word finally. It is finally. It's taken way too long. There's still plenty of problems. So I endorse that, much as I may not like it. I agree with it. I've been doing this long enough that when I was a first-year attorney, very excited to get out into the legal world and into the courtroom, the firm that I worked for originally would not allow me to go to court because they said I was a girl and the judges didn't like girls. So that was my first job. Lucky for me, I met a very nice gentleman who had another firm, and he said, "How do you like your job?" I said, "I don't." He sort of took me aside one day. He said, "How you like it working there?" I said, "I don't like it. They won't let me go to court. That's why I wanted to be an attorney." And he said, "Come work for me. I'll have you in court the first day." So I did, and I went to court all the time, but in the courtroom as well, there was all kinds of resistance. I mean, the judges, the attorneys. I mean, it's probably been a couple years now, but even in recent years, I'll have some opposing counsel or even co-counsel ask me to edit their document for them, process the changes. It still happens from time to time. So, but anyway, has it made me more competitive? I think I am competitive, and law is a great forum for that. It's a little bit different in that winning a race is a lot of fun. It's very rewarding, but I also want to see how well I did. Like I PR'd the New York course last year, but it didn't podium me. It only got me up fourth. But I was super happy because it was my fastest New York. It was just a crazy competitive field last year because it was the world championship and I was at the top of the age division. But anyway, so there's a lot of that in running. But yes, I'm super competitive. Um, in law, the difference is I really want to do this for the clients. And I think in running, I'm certainly here to set an example and hopefully inspire and encourage people. But there's a lot of it more sort of tied to me in a way. Whereas in law, I just love to do it for the clients, if that makes sense.
It does, it does. But are there parallels in bankruptcy law specifically, perhaps, when it comes to endurance or training? Is the bankruptcy path for clients a long haul? You're a marathon, one of the greatest. And marathon is 26.2 miles. So a lot of people run at 5Ks and 10Ks, but you run a long distance. So is there any parallels between literally the type of clients you're helping all the time and the marathon distance?
Great question. And for sure, you'll see a parallel because you've got to have the commitment, you've got to have the discipline, you've got to do the work. There's no shortcuts. So in those, they're identical. And one thing about bankruptcy is that the deadlines tend to be very short. A case may drag on for years, but motions are on 3 weeks' notice, and you get it by email. You get an ECF, what's called ECF electronic notice, on a Wednesday, and your opposition is due the next Wednesday, and they may serve it Wednesday night. So you have 6 days really to prepare an opposition with evidence, declarations. So it's fast paced and you need to really stay in control. And in a marathon, of course, you want to be fast and you really have to stay in control and keep yourself really eye on the finish line and eye on every. Also, a marathon will be a parallel in that you have to every step of the way watch what you're doing, right? You don't just kind of sprint to the finish. We may have motions on 3 weeks notice, but a case that goes for years, we need to make the strategy decisions along the way. And bankruptcy law is pretty complicated. I mean, it's not the hardest thing in the world, but you need to know enough, and you need again to prepare and have the sort of the base knowledge the way you would need base mileage, right? And you need to kind of again watch at each time along the way.
I never thought about the time construct of performing services for a bankruptcy client. I never thought about such a reduced
Yeah,
time period.
yeah.
It feels like if that's true, if that's the case, you can't rest. No wonder you run so fast. Like you can't rest.
Right, and you can't take time off, right? I mean, I
Yes.
travel, but I have to work every trip. And we can't control it. Once in a while, I'll say, "Hey, listen, I'm gonna be in Australia for 5 days. Can you give me a break and let me have, push something a week?" And even that, I had a case where the guy said no. It's like, "Okay, well, don't tell me you're my friend anymore." Uh, but yeah, so I always have to work. I can't really leave for any length of time, and I just work when I travel, which is fine. I don't mind. I'm glad to do it, but that's how it works.
And you're an operator and you have, your firm is just a couple of lawyers, right? So you just have a
Right,
couple of people as opposed to some nameless, faceless, big pool of lawyers with,
right.
very few. Not everyone has to have the responsibility to answer to the client, right?
Right. Right. For sure. So,
The big difference, between marathon and longer distances, longer, a lot of times you see people segueing from marathon distances to longer distances. And in part, it's because they have an opportunity to perhaps slow down. They're not going to demand the same things on their body when they have 50 miles to run rather than have 26.2 or 100
right.
miles or 100K or whatever. But clearly, you are not doing that. Before we jump into the amazing records that you've got, and I've got spreadsheets all over the place, and I thought this is my friend
Thank you.
Leslie Cohen. What am I doing? Why am I buried in the spreadsheets? Just relax, Mark. It's not a test, right? So I have to say, Leslie, of the people that I've had the opportunity to work with and speak with on the podcast, it's different. It is a little different when you kind of know someone, when you know the background of them, and the way that our lives intersect practicing in LA for a long time. Uh, it's very unique. It's really unique in that way. I want to weave into family a little bit. I saw on a story from a blog post about how you at one point started to take your running more seriously, like after 2006.
Right.
Or was there ever a point in time when running was kind of therapy, the right words to use?
Totally. Totally. That was really how I got started. I got divorced in 2004 and I started running a bit before that, right when like my whole marriage was falling apart and things were really, really challenging. And I used to run with one of my then colleagues, who I think you know, whose name is Joe. And he'd say, we'd run every Saturday, and he'd say he could tell just how bad things were at home by how fast I would run. So I definitely started running to relieve the stress of the divorce, and then in hopes of meeting people as well. And then in, I think, 2006 is when I really got into it, and I hired a coach, and I started getting pretty serious and started racing. Um, I did my first marathon in 2006, did not prepare well, got injured, and a few months later started running again, but didn't run another marathon, full marathon until 2013. And so I would say the times, sort of the big times of 2006 is when I got super into it. 13 is when I really started marathoning seriously. And then 2019 is when I'm not quite sure why, but everything started to really click at 2019. So it's been all amazing since then.
So in 2006, that was the first marathon, rock and roll. That was the rock and roll marathon. But you said you got in.
Exactly.
Tell us just a second, the running parts of it all. How did you get in, or what was the injury? Not how did you? What was the injury?
So it was the IT band. I just didn't train. I didn't train properly and I didn't fuel properly, but especially I didn't train properly. So I actually did really well. I was running like 8:30 pace for about 20 miles, 21 miles, 22 miles, or right about 22, 23. So you only have 4 miles to go. Just lost it. My legs it was so painful. And so I just did like walk 10 steps, jog 10 steps for 4 miles to the end. I could not walk when I was done. And it was a pretty serious IT band injury that kept me off running for several months.
Quite some
So,
time. Okay. Now, at that point, if I did the math right, you're like 50 years old. So that you
yeah,
don't run a marathon till you're 50?
right.
Wow.
And I
Okay.
didn't do another one until I was 57.
Yeah, I see that. I did that math too. Yeah, like, wait, what? What happened there? Let me just say, I think this is the right data because now we're going to really get into it. We're going to get into the marathon resume. I
Okay.
think this is right. Okay, let me see. At this moment, I think, let's see, is it 55 marathons, 26 half marathons, 12 consecutive New York City marathons?
13 now. 13.
13, because the 15 is the Lakers. Okay. 11 Bostons. So let's go with the big kahuna, 13 New Yorks. What keeps you coming back to New York? Do you love that race so much, and why?
I love it because it's an amazing event. The crowd support is insane. And now I know enough people in the community that there's so many people to see, and you go to the pop-up here and the party there, and it's just really, really fun. And I have one friend who usually pretty much every year, most years, does a certain like a party at a restaurant for just her and her family and us and my family. So it's a very social, very fun, but the course itself, the experience, it's honestly, it's a really hard course. It's the hardest one I've done, 13 times. It's a very, very challenging course. It's very hilly. And at mile 23, you are going quote unquote down Fifth Avenue, that is to say south, but it is completely uphill and you're kind of dying. But my niece tends to meet me there and she'll run me down to the park, that kind of thing. So I get so much support. And this year a friend paced me for about 12 miles from mile 12 to 24. So that helped. But I guess to answer your question, the crowds are everywhere. It is a full tour of the city. Starting on the Verrazano Bridge, it's unbelievable. You start up, the gun goes off, and it's not a gun, it's a cannon. Helicopters flying overhead. It's every year, most years anyway, we've had beautiful weather, and then they start playing the Frank Sinatra New York, New York as everybody runs up the hill. So you're really kind of running and singing as you run up the bridge, right? And that it's worth the whole thing just for that. And then the finish in Central Park, I don't find that finish tough at all. I guess it kind of rolls, but I always feel like it's downhill, even though it may not be. And the park is lined with people, 10, 20 people deep on both sides. It's crazy. So it's just a super exciting experience. So
I've never asked this, but your glowing recommendation is really wonderful. And I agree with you. And I didn't know anything about anything. And so when I picked my first race, I did so because I had two strokes and I needed to find a race and trained for one, had a stroke, trained another, got trained for this, trained for my first marathon, had a stroke, had the second stroke. Anyway, I was able to pick the first marathon, but I didn't know enough. And I looked at the calendar and then I said, November. The doctor says November. And I said, yeah. And I looked at my phone. I said, how about New York? And he said, yeah, that's fine. But I had no idea that it was the
yeah.
most amazing, biggest race in the history of whatever. I just didn't know. So I ran it and got spoiled because I expected, like, oh, this is marathoning. Oh my goodness. Every race is going to be like that. And so if if, uh, if no one's done a marathon yet, and they're getting up in years, whatever, but so what? You started when you were 50, so how it doesn't matter how old you are. How highly would you recommend, even if they've never done a marathon, doesn't matter, would you recommend them doing whatever they have to do, charity bib, whatever it takes to try to run that race?
It's a really special experience. If you have the time and the money, it's really hard to get in now. But if you can swing it, it wouldn't be worth going bankrupt for, spoken by a bankruptcy attorney, but it's a really, really special experience, more than any other, more than Boston, and everyone will tell you that. Now, Boston's great too; they're all good, but that's a really, really special event.
Talk to us about what happens if you finish 15 New Yorks? What does that mean? What's that indicate? Because 'Cause you've done 13 now.
Right, right, and I'm signed up for this year. So legacy status, which means that you can get in uh, anytime in the future. You no longer have to qualify. So that's a big deal because qualifying for New York isn't just about time. If you don't qualify in a New York Roadrunners event, then there's no way to know if you'll get in. It's not, I don't know how they do it. Like Boston, there's a certain time cutoff,
Right?
but New York, I know tons of people that had qualifying times in not New York races that didn't get in. Even though there had plenty of margin over the qualifying time, and my qualifying time is slow enough; it's not a big deal for me. But it's very hard to get in now. So
So if you finish 15 of them, you don't have to if you want, you
then I
can
can
run
go
it.
come back in 2 years, 3 years. Yeah,
Okay.
exactly.
So we started so this will be the first you're not able to do New York this year? What happened? What's the
Well, I'm
story
doing
with
New
that?
York this year. It's LA that I'm gonna probably miss. No, I'll be fine for New York.
Okay.
So,
Okay. So you got
yeah.
an injury now that for
Yeah, I
it's
just,
gonna
got an injury really just last Friday, and it was pretty scary because I couldn't even walk a couple of steps, but now I'm just walking around, I'll start running again next week, start just jogging up, so it'll only be in the end, it'll be under 2 weeks of missing running, but I probably won't do LA Marathon, which makes me sad because I do it with my daughter, and so I'll run her a couple places on the course, and I'll run her into the finish, but I'm sad to not be just side by side with her for the whole time. So,
Well, let's move into that. Let's talk about the family and how they participate, how you brought your family along and from your in your journey since 50 on forward, I think, right? So, how have you
yeah.
brought your family along with them on your running journey?
So in 2009, my younger two, they're twins, and they were in middle school and they wanted to go to Santa Monica High School. From what I heard, they really need to be in a club or a sport or a music or something. So I was like, okay, well, you have to do something. So I uh I thought, well, how about running? That sounds good. So I started while they were in, I guess, the eighth grade. I started a little run club that's now our Team LCL. And I would have them and their friends. I had 18 kids come over every Wednesday after school. The joy of having my own firm, I could do that, right? And I would, take them for a little 3-mile run in the neighborhood, and then we come back, and I'd give them hot chocolate chip cookies hot out of the oven. So everyone wants to do that. And then I got them, like, little shirts with the firm logo because I didn't have any other corporate sponsors, so it was my law firm that became the corporate sponsor, and all 18 of my kids all got onto the, cross-country team for Santa Monica High School. So that's really how it started, and then we went on to start having events, and what we still do, we're not so much a run club like the Venice Run Club that meets every week. It just that wouldn't really work for my schedule. But we mostly go to a lot of different races and we do events. Like we had a holiday run. You should really come to one. We did a holiday run. We just run, in Christmassy outfits and then eat donuts. We do a big one for my birthday. So we do a few times a year, stuff like that. And yeah, the kids are very enrolled in and engaged in it. And my two both ran at Samo. Phoebe ran for 2 years, Rachel ran for 4. And then when she went to college, Phoebe got super into running. And then she was in college, and then it was COVID, and then she was in grad school. And when she was in college and grad school, we started meeting in different places to run. So our goal is to do a half marathon in every state. We've got about 20 states in. And once she moved back to LA about 2.5 years ago now, we run together like all the time. We do the run club on Friday, the run tech club. We race as many races together as we can. And yeah, so she's super into it. And we wear our little matching outfits. You've probably heard about that or you've seen the pictures. So we always match. And that's really one of the reasons I'm so sad about LA because we did 2 of them in a row, but we'll be back. And we've signed up for another full marathon to compensate for LA.
Of
And
course you
then
did. Of course you did.
because God forbid, right? So, but we signed up for CIM, that's months away. But we'll do plenty of half and shorter between now and then. And then Rachel took more of a break of running after high school, and she's getting more into it now. And then she gave me as a birthday gift that she would come out of retirement of running more seriously, and then we would run the Avenue of the Giants half marathon together.
Uh-huh. That's
So we're doing
beautiful.
that in May, and then now, of course, Phoebe's joining, and then Allie, my older daughter, is not a runner, but she's coming, and she does lots of race support. When I won the world championship in 2021, when I got home, my front door was covered with like little sticky notes from everybody I know. And Allie had engineered the entire thing, gotten everybody put their little notes of congratulations. So she stays enrolled in sort of a bit of a different way, in a really great way. So yeah, so it's very much a family event.
There's nothing better. Listen, we can say this is a bankruptcy lawyer. We can say she's one of the world's greatest marathoners and consistent and all that. We can say she's an age group master. But what I heard was this is a mom who has orchestrated the most perfect things for her kids to thrive. And in the meantime, mom gets to do it too. Now I'm remembering, I'm this moment old, remembering that that's how we were introduced by our friend George, because I learned that we were going to have twins. And I think, it's like, oh, Leslie has twins. You should talk to
Yeah.
her. I'm pretty
Yeah.
sure that's it. And so
Yeah.
when a mom, they're you're working to get them into the school you want, et cetera. And, if there's not a club around, mom looks around like, oh, well, let's make one, right?
Exactly. It worked.
Oh, it's so inspiring. And so I only realized this morning too that the law firm has an Instagram account too. So I see the 310K. We'll get to talk about that in a minute. I saw your own the your Instagram
Yeah.
feed, and there's so much love and smiles and support, and it's the community, and we'll get to that in just a second, but just still focusing on the family, all the family elements here really coming together and thriving, and I celebrate you for that. And I did see the matching outfits, and I did see over the years, because it went back through pictures, and you were able to see, oh, look, I think this is Phoebe running? Okay, Phoebe is, and I don't know your daughters, but I, started put the names together like, okay, Phoebe is running. Rachel, where's Rachel was doing what? But then I saw your other daughter, and I'm like, wait a minute, there's the cookies like in the house.
Yep.
It's
You
so
got it.
it's so I showed up being inspired by my pal Leslie Cohen, age group master finesse. It's amazing. But what it was,
Thank
the
you.
heart really warmed when I looked at how you capture and share this joyous thing you do running with your family. I just
Thank you.
can't
Honestly,
get
I
enough
can't
of
get
it.
enough of it.
Yeah, exactly. I can't get enough of it.
Makes me
So
so happy.
drive us into it now. Let's talk about community, because half of the images that we see are all about community. And there's something you created called the 310K walk run. Uh, Talk to us about that. How was that born? Oh, and wait a minute before I forget, the team LCL, that's Leslie Cohen Law. Is that LCL? Is that what that
That's
is?
her. That's
Yeah.
her
Okay.
corporate.
Okay. So you created the club, and I read somewhere else that all of those 18 kids that you brought in, and maybe you said this already. They all went on to continue running. They all ran in the cross country team at Santa
They all
Monica.
made the cut for the team. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, okay. So where does 310K walk come into play? What is that?
So 2012, I just, I'd been an attorney for a long time, was running, and I kind of wanted to find a way to combine the two. And I thought it was really time for me to find a good way to give back to the community, in particular the legal community, because that's fed my kids, it fed me, my family, and I've gotten a lot out of it. And so I wanted to find a way to basically give back to the community. And so I actually met with one of the bankruptcy judges to see if he had any thoughts on something that I could do that was kind of legal charity oriented. And he suggested that I meet up with Public Counsel's Debtor Assistant Project, which basically is like legal aid for bankruptcy for poorer people that can't even afford an attorney to get them through the bankruptcy process. So he introduced me to the head of that program, who she herself is now a judge as well. And we said, well, let's put on a 5K and raise money for Public Counsel's Debtor Assistant Project. And that was how the whole thing started. It was very, very hard and very, very expensive because the city of Santa Monica they really, they charged me really a lot of money to put on that event. So we did it, and it was a success. We got a great turnout. It worked out really well. And after 2 years, it was just the cost was too much, so we moved the event to Dockweiler. We had it there for a few years, and then we were able to move it to the beach path right by the Casa del Mar in Santa Monica,
Right.
and that was great. It was pan flat, a really nice course, and so we were planning to do that again this year, which I guess we were last year, 2025, and and we noticed it up and so on, and having nothing to do with us, the city decided no more races were allowed in that area. So then we had to go through the process. We lost our date, we lost our event. We went through the process of basically working with the city of Santa Monica to create a brand new course. And I have to say, after all the history, the city really stepped up. I met with 12 people at Tongva Park. We met and we walked the course, and then there was a question we were going to have to cross over California, that California incline. And they were smart enough to see, like, this one police officer in full uniform. She's like, your runners are not going to want to stop at this light. So you either have to get somebody to manage the traffic or some other theory. And then my race director said, let's go down the California incline. And the city was like, no, because you're not allowed to run on the beach path. It's not allowed. I'm like, okay, well, we'll figure out something. And they ended up changing their mind, and they let us go down the incline, up the beach path. And in the end, they gave me some breaks and really ultimately thanked me for helping them develop this incredible course. The pictures are to die for. It's a hard course because you go down the incline, up a ways, and then back up the incline. So it's challenging. And we had amazing runners doing it, as well as some amazing runners with strollers, some amazing runners just running. And then we had people walking it. It's really our event. What's cool about our event is that it's really for everyone. I know lots of people that don't run a step, but they'll walk 3 miles. Why not? And then I have some really truly elite runners that were running this very challenging course under 18 minutes, which is completely amazing. I could never do that. But anyway, so it's a cool event for that reason. And like I say, some of my friends have babies in their strollers, and so we'll do the same location for 2026. It'll be on I think November 22nd, whatever that Sunday is before Thanksgiving. And that's how the event was born. And I ended up really developing a really strong relationship with public counsel, because over the years, in total now, I've raised them well over $100,000. I think we're maybe over 120, 130 now. So I'm really proud of it. And every year I get really stressed out. I'm like, I'm not doing it next year. And then every year it's so much fun. We have so many people that come back over and over again that might not even see each other until the next event. So, because it's like almost like a family event at this point. And of course my kids are there. So, and then you talk about my daughter, Allie, the one who's not a runner, she'll MC it. And she has a lot of expertise as a comedian and writer. So she'll lead the emceeing of the event, and yeah, so that's the 310. So I guess we've done it maybe 13 times by now, something like that. We did it as a virtual during COVID. We didn't skip it, but it was virtual, which was much easier to put on, of course. But yeah, so that's our event.
When I read months ago now that there were 14 years you'd been doing this, I couldn't believe how, in some ways, time does fly. It just goes quick.
It does.
And I remember one of the earliest days I registered and then didn't show up. This was years ago. And then maybe it was during COVID, I did the same thing, registered and just didn't go. Or no, it had to be before COVID. And then this year I registered, but I could run it virtually. I had a long scheduled
Right.
training run and I couldn't get to Santa Monica and do 5K,
But you
whatever. I
still
just
did
had
the
to
virtual.
train.
Yeah.
So I did a virtual and I
Yeah.
was, in my mind, this is just another, pay it forward because you're doing such good work. And it was a lot of fun. And so as I think it was the same day as the Ciclavia on down Melrose. And so I was able to run, that 2 mile stretch with no traffic or whatever it is, 3 miles. And it was just a lot of fun. And so I spent a little time, looking at the race, and it is it now that you've established the Santa Monica gratitude from the city to you, and that now it's not going to go away, Leslie. You won't have a choice, and soon, maybe it's now, you won't even. Others are going to step in to carry on the torch, right? Continue the torch. So it's beautiful to see
Thank
those
you.
people's reactions, and just good for
Thank
you.
you. Well, if you have time, look at the pictures. They're unbelievable.
Yeah, from this last race, I saw a post a couple of some time ago, months ago, when you were like, photos from the last walkthrough. And I was like, walkthrough? What is she doing now? There's only so many roads in Santa Monica. Where is she going to go? Right. So then I saw it. I'm like, where are they going to run? They can't run on the PCH. And so it was very exciting. And the idea that you just persevered to make it happen, and you've got teams of people that support you and love you. People get in a selfie now with Leslie Cohen. It's because they want to be in a selfie with Leslie Cohen. And the number of people in the selfies gets bigger and bigger and bigger. So
thank you.
You are to be celebrated, my friend. You are.
Thank you.
It's true. It's true. And $120,000, that was the other thing. They have been the sole beneficiary, right, of the event?
Well, that's how much we've raised for them.
For them. Oh, okay.
The first few years when my girls were in high school, I gave a portion to the high school cross-country team as well. And then in 2025, 2025, I think 24 and 25, I guess, we also contribute a portion of proceeds to the street safety organizations because my daughter Phoebe was in a horrible accident. She was hit by a truck while she was on her bike. And luckily, she had a really good helmet on and she's fine now. But it could have gone any number of different ways. And we all see so many issues with traffic safety. So there are two organizations. One is called SAFE and the other is called Streets for All. And so we also donate a portion to them now. But that's
Is that
limited.
a regional? Is it a regional charity, national, local?
I
What
think
is
they're
that?
regional.
Okay.
I think there's regional.
Okay. Um, Now I got to get out my notebook because here's what we're going to learn. You're going to teach. You're going to talk to some runners here. Now, you are. This would have been a great conversation at 50 and 60, but now at 70. First, number one, uh, you're an age group master. I think I started to first pay attention. Our friend George was like, yeah, I think she's just boosted up. I think she's excited to get into the 65-year-old category, age group. That's what when we first talked about it. I
Yeah.
was like, she's so fast. How does she do that? And he says, I know, but I think she's getting, looking forward to that next age group because when you're a marathoner, is this correct, Leslie? When you're a marathoner, the age group goes from 0 to 4. Is that right? 0 to 4 and then 5 to 9. So, 50 to
It usually
54.
actually goes up. The whole what they do between 0 and 20 can vary. But starting at 20, it's going to be 20 to 24, 25 to 29, 30 to 34, and so on. Yeah. Some races do 10-year categories, which I think is very unfair because you compare a runner at 50 to a runner at 59, they should not be competing against each other. So I can hold my own in a 10-year age division, but I don't like it. I don't think it's fair.
Right. I think for marathon, I think anytime there's a fast race, yes, I get it. And I think for ultras and the longer distances, it's always 10 years. But then the people that I've had the opportunity to speak with, right, when they turn 60, 61, 62, they're looking forward to it. And they're like, oh, I'm going to crush these people for a number, for at least 5 years. And then they're 67, 68, 69. They're like, man, I can't wait. And I hit that 70-year-old button.
Right.
So in 2026, now you're running at 70, right? Okay. So before we get into how you train, how much you train, talk about the age group categories and how does that affect the way you think and plan for races, if at all?
So it's a good question. I mean, at 65, really had a lot of really good luck. And I think, let's see, at 65 was what, 5 years ago. So that was 2021. So 2019, I think I mentioned, is when I started really sort of hitting my stride. It was the first time I saw anything that looked close to a 3:30 in the marathon. So I'd say that it was in general, the competition thins out a little bit. And there'll be people that will say, "Oh, well, I wish I was 65 so that I could win too," and that kind of thing. And I'm like, "Okay, if you can do it when you're 65, God bless, right? You still have to work hard for it.
Right.
It doesn't come any easier." But anyway, so it was I've always done outside the marathon. I've always done really well in the other distances, but it was a marathon that took me longer to kind of get good at. Um, so at 65, I just went with the approach of I feel the same as I did at 64 and the field's a little bit less competitive. So let's see what we can do. Of course, the bigger the race and the more, prestigious the race, the stiffer the competition will be. But in general, I just kind of want to just do my best. And sometimes I'll go into a race at either in the last age division or in this one thinking, well, I'm in the older division now. I don't have to work as hard. But when I get out there, I just work as hard anyway. So I did Surf City Marathon. That was my first race this year in the new age group. And I was like, well, I don't know how I feel. I'll shoot for like a sub 145. That'll still be a really solid time. And I think I can win the division with that. But I don't focus so much on winning that stuff like that. But anyway, then I ended up running 140. And I was like, okay, I almost threw up, but whatever. Right. So I just get out there. But there's one exception that hasn't been tested yet. There's a race in Long Beach that's called the Wrigley River Run. And if you win your if you break the course record, you get a free entry for the next year. Now, I can afford the entry, but it's something really nice about breaking a course record. So at 68, I broke the course record. I worked really hard for it. It's a 10-mile. The age division course record, I don't think it was that hard to break, but I broke it in the 10 mile and the 5K. But I worked really hard for it. So I went back at 69 last June, and I'm like, I don't know if I can do it. And I just gave it everything I had, and I beat it by 10 seconds. So I have a
Course
free
record?
entry.
You again, you beat your own
Yeah, I
course
beat
record?
my own course record by 10 seconds only. So then, now for this year at 70, I gotta leave myself a little room. So I'm gonna see what the record is. Don't tell the race director. He might listen to this, but I'll probably tell him myself. But I might try to leave myself a little margin for next year. We'll see. We'll see.
Uh, I love hearing your assessment and understanding how fit you are. And so I love that you just came in to have fun and take the foot off the gas, and yet
I get
you
there.
are moving so fast on the earth, Leslie. Every time I talk to anyone about you, yeah, and you're that, even you influence me that much because I talk to people and oh, my
Thank
friend
you.
Leslie, she's like lightning. She's like the flash. And I think part of what this podcast was about, Leslie, is I was volunteering at an aid station a couple of years ago, and I saw a guy in his 60s who was at the 92-mile aid station, and he didn't want my quesadilla. He was going to finish his 100-mile race. And for some reason in my mind, I'm like, wait, you're in your 60s and you're doing 100? In my head, and I was, I was over 61 at the time. And I'm like, oh, I've had done my 50Ks. I think that's enough. So when I saw him go through, I thought, oh man, I am not done. And in that moment, everything in my own mind, I just shifted. And honestly, you came to mind immediately when that happened, because I don't think I had a real appreciation for your athleticism and your level of fitness and your level of commitment, Leslie, until after that. Because then when I saw you, I'm like, wait a minute, she's doing what? And every time I saw a picture, Leslie, I'm thinking, how is every time I see a picture on Instagram, she's finishing a race? You can't finish a race every 4 days, can you? And I looked at it, and I'm like, "Oh my god, I think she's finishing a race every 4 days. At a minimum, it's here on the weekends," right? So, um, it's really inspiring. And
Thank you.
it's inspiring just because you're getting out there and doing it, and we're not 50 anymore, but to keep bringing it for yourself and delivering the kind of results you deliver, it just kinda blows my mind. And so now, if you don't mind, I wanna really hear more about this. How many miles is it important to cover a lot of miles every week? I'm imagining the answer is yes, but what does that mean? Because you're racing all the time. So how many miles do you run a week? What does it look like for you?
Yeah. So I run 50 to 60 miles a week. I think I have a friend who PR'd in Sydney, my first year Sydney, which was 2024. And I asked her how she did it. She's in the 50 to 54 division, and she said she increased her mileage. So I immediately increased my mileage. I used to be like hit 50 a week, and then I try to go closer to 60. So and I really we don't really have a track that's available in the morning now in my area. So we used to go to SMC in the morning on Wednesdays, but now they're not available in the morning. So there's no track that's close that's available in the morning. And I, especially if it's not summertime, especially, I really prefer to not run at night. Maybe in summer I might, but in general I prefer not to. So instead of that, I race as my speed work, right? Rather than going to a track or whatever. So the racing becomes kind of the speed work, and that's when I get a good workout. So that's kind of how it works. And I do race all the time. I race with my daughter, I race with my friends, and my adorable boyfriend Rob like schleps me to all these races. He's a
Man, wait, yeah,
marathon.
wait. Let's put a pin in this for a second. This guy, Rob, who is this guy? He's like a superstar. We all need a Rob. I'll tell you that right
Everyone
now.
needs a Rob.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Oh my
Yeah.
goodness. So he's
And it helps.
celebrated that. Yeah. So
No, and it helps because when I'm racing as much as I am, right, I don't have the stress. Because stress affects all of us, right? But when we're going to the race, I don't have to worry about where I'm putting the car. I don't worry about a gear check and where I'm going to have my jacket afterwards or any of that stuff because he will drop us at the start and he will meet us at the finish with my jacket, whatever. And it makes a huge, huge difference. I mean, the support on top of that, but just the logistics. And when the emails come in about where you're supposed to park, I just forward it to him. I don't even read them, and he he gets us there. So anyway, but yeah, so that really helps a lot.
I think that's what makes this also attractive. The image and the profile of Leslie Cohen, it really is about the community. Yeah, the fact that you're a professional doing things and still working all the time, amazing. That you agreed to pull yourself out on a Thursday lunchtime to have a conversation with me, appreciate it. But to see the structure of the family and to show it and share it, I do see a lot of people, athletes at lots of ages, where they put off the energy that it's a solo endeavor. But I feel that every person I've come across who has any level of success or impact or authenticity, it's because they're not doing it by themselves. Because it's impossible to do it by ourselves, right? I mean, you still have to run that race.
Right, but it makes a huge, huge difference. And, I know people all over the world now. And one of my friends, George, who lives in St. Louis, has a little hashtag nothing ever done alone. And so I always think of that. It's definitely a group effort. I don't even train alone. I train alone maybe once a week max. Always have people out there. So yeah, it's definitely a community and family event.
You mentioned a couple of times, and I want to talk about what is the Abbott World Masters? What does that mean? And then I've seen all the medals, wait, I got to point this out.
You ready?
Yeah.
I moved into this room for your benefit. You see it?
Ladies and gentlemen,
That's not all of them,
is
but I put some away because I took them all my
these
class.
are the prettiest ones. Leslie, I got really humbled and excited because I wear these medals like I mean, I'm just a baby. I'm just a baby. And I
Yeah,
knew
you're a newbie,
I am a newbie. And
which is
so
cool.
when I counted up all the medals, the Leslie medals, and on the spreadsheet and the blah, 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 I'm like, oh my goodness. I wanted to see what kind of reinforcements. I bet Rob comes in handy one way or another. He's probably got some contractors on speed dial.
Yeah.
So like you need another row of
Oh yeah.
support in the walls, right?
Exactly.
Oh my goodness. So talk about that. What's that Abbott World Masters? What does it look like when you're an elite athlete, a marathoner? You're global now, right? And so and you just did Sydney. So what are the World Masters? And I saw this giant medal after you get a couple of them, you have this giant
Right.
medal, right? So talk to us. What is that? What does it mean? And what does it mean to you? What does it mean in general
Yeah.
too?
So the thing is called the Abbott World Marathon Majors, and then there's the Abbott World Marathon, I guess, Masters Championship. So the majors themselves are New York, Boston, London, Tokyo, Berlin, and Chicago. Those were the 6 original World Marathon Majors. They now added Sydney, so now there's 7. Okay, and if you do them all, they just haven't created a 7 medal yet, but they have a 6. So if you complete them all, you get that medal. And so that's kind of like a bucket list item for a lot of people. And then they have what's called I think the Masters competition, World Championship, something like that. Anyway, you register for that, and then they compare you to other people in your age division. You have to be 40 and up. They don't have it for under 40. It's basically a way for older runners to have a cool competition since we're not going to the Olympics or, being in any of the world championships. So it was actually created around 2019 or 20, but it didn't have the first event until 2021. And so it's pretty cool because they'll set it at one of their locations. The first year it was at London. So we were all invited to go to the London Marathon. We qualified. And
Who's we? How many people are we talking about? Who's we?
in my division, the first year, there was maybe only 10 or 20. They've increased it now. I think there's 20 women and 20 men, something like that. And they have like different parties and stuff. So it's kind of fun. And so you just run the marathon with everybody else, but they give us our own start area, which is now it's over 1,000 people from 40 to 90, whatever. And they have you wear on your back a sign with your last name and your age division. So you can see who you're competing with as you're hopefully passing them. So it's kind of like in triathlon where they have people put their age on their leg. Same
Right.
concept.
That's a great what great
Yeah,
incentive because 'cause you're gonna see,
pretty cool.
like, you're really just looking for your age group so you can get ahead
Yeah,
of them, right?
yeah, exactly. And I saw a lady in New York and I was like, I got to get past her. And I did in the end. Anyway, so and then they have a party after and like a celebration. And the first year, 2021, I got a first place. It was in London. And then the second year was in London again. And then as I aged up, it's two things really. One, you're aging up, so you're potentially getting slower. But more interestingly, people are getting faster, which is really cool. So it's harder to compete in the 65 to 69 than it was 5 years ago. It just is. People are faster.
Okay, so because because of
Everybody's faster.
technology
Yeah.
fueling why? Why do you think that is?
I think it's technology. I think it's fueling. I think it's maybe more people are getting into it. It's a good question. I just think people are getting faster. So, like when I won London, I think my time was 3:35. But now there's a lady in that division who can run 3:20. And she does it pretty consistently. And I know her. She's super nice and super fast. And lucky for me, I got 2 years without her in my new division, and maybe three. I think it's two and a half, 3 years before she catches up with me. So I got to do what I can before she catches up. Um, so
With her over your shoulder, how long have you known of her? And has she always been, you know, has she always been that? Like faster or
so that's
whatever?
a great question. And what's really interesting and what really bodes well for me is that almost everybody slows down. And I've been really lucky to hold my paces really well. So in my 50s, I was running my half marathon in 140, which was great and usually get me a first or a second. But now if I run a 140, even if I'm a 143, whatever, that's like amazing for 69 or 70. Whereas it's great at any age. It's all good, right? I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah.
all the time good. So a lot of the people that I compete with, the women, they used to run 3:10, 3:15, whatever. I never did that. I started too late, and then I mean, really didn't start marathoning until 2013. So it's more than 10 years ago now, but still, uh, but now I've seen so many faster times where so many people either slow down or get injured or give up or whatever, whereas I've been pretty steady. So at some point, I hopefully sort of cross over. So
You know what? I don't know if I should look this up offline. There might be some kind of a gambling opportunity here because Leslie's getting faster and there is attrition. Older people just stop doing
there's a
these
trick.
things, right? So you're getting faster. That's glorious. And so, how
Knock
do you
on wood.
feel?
How do I feel? I mean, I feel great. I feel happy. I feel young. I'm a little disappointed about this little injury that I have right now, but I'm also amazed and shocked at how fast my body is coming out of it. Like it's only been 6 days now, and I'm already walking around no problem. So where when it happened last week, which was sort of my own fault because as my daughter said, I flew too close to the sun. I kind of overdid.
Oh, so
but
sweet.
But, uh, but anyway, but I'm getting better so quickly, so I'm not at all scared of, I feel confident that this is a blip and yeah, so I feel great. It doesn't affect my feelings about it. And I mean, you're asking more about how I feel. I'm sort of talking a little bit about the injury, but my family rallied up for me so huge last Friday with my sister and my daughter, everybody, taking me to the MRI and bringing me food when I'm sitting with my feet up. I wouldn't wish it on myself or anyone else, but if there was a silver lining, it was just a reminder of just how lucky I am. And of course, Rob, does everything. And so I feel great. I feel very grateful for all the amazing people around me. And then I got to hang out with you thanks to our meeting with George way back when.
Exactly, exactly, exactly. At 60, so 10 years ago, did you have a sense that your body recovered quickly? Uh, like you just now said, like, "Oh, I'm recovering so well." Like my body, you're really proud of your body as you should. But did you have the same senses 10 years ago? Did you recover quickly, or is something improving? I guess that's my question. Is it
That's
are you
such a
can you
good question, and it opens up my eyes to a good concept because I had a tibial stress injury in 2017. That was my last injury 9 years ago, so I would
okay?
have been 61, and it took a lot longer to heal, and I think that's because I didn't respect it enough, and I tried to run too soon. I ran more on it than I should have, and then I didn't wait till it was enough better, and as a result, it held me back for months. I was running, but it held me back how well I could run. So, but maybe I do just heal better now. So that's a
Are
good
you
question.
smarter?
I'm going to take that. I'm definitely smarter. So we all get smarter over time.
I think I think that's true. We do indeed. Um, what do you The first thing I think about whenever I see you in a race photo, they're never along the side of the road, by the way, to your audience, in case you're wondering, they're always after the finish line, cheese and crackers. But the first thing I think about is, how did she fuel? I know you're fast. And I know, I guess, if you're only running, if it's taking you, 3 hours and change to run some marathon, or 3.5 hours, you have less time than it. If I'm going to run the same distance, I'm out there a lot longer than you, and I know I would need different fuel. So talk about that for a second. I'm so curious. I have no idea at elite runner at your age or at your level, not at your age, at your level. How do you fuel for a marathon? I don't even know.
Yeah. So there's really been a lot of kind of new developments that aren't complicated, but it's just more kind of information. You really need to cram in as many calories of fuel as you can. Whereas last year I ran the Ventura Marathon and I had 4 GU and I did okay. I ran a 3:41. It was fine. I won the age division, whatever. But 2 months later, I did the Paris Marathon, which is a much harder course than the Ventura Marathon. My shoes were hurting my feet, so I switched to my training shoes. I had 6 GU instead of 4. So that's a completely straight up experiment with a control, right? And I ran off that course like laughing. I was like completely fine. The exact same time, 3:41, chill. There's the girls, met my kids. Like I felt great. So that was my big hack: 6 GU instead of 4. Basically every 4 miles, except I have the last one at mile 23 instead of mile 24. So you really
50%
need to
more,
pack
but
it in.
50%
Yeah.
more than you had in the last round. That's a big change. That's a
It's
big
a
change from 4 to
huge change.
6.
It makes a huge, huge difference. So I've done that. I did that for Chicago. I did it for New York. What else did I do last year? Sydney Marathon, I did it for. So I'm really pretty strict about that to make sure that I get all 6.
Could you pass this information along to Rob or whoever needs to know? Maybe it's Phoebe. Could we please see at least one photo of Leslie eating a gel so I know she does that? Because right now I take it on face value, face value. Of course you do, but I haven't seen it, so I want to
We'll
see
get you one.
Leslie.
I
Yeah,
think there's probably one in one of my race photos somewhere.
probably. Okay. What about what about when you're training? What do you eat? You don't eat gels when you're training? Do you eat whole foods? Are you vegan? Are you carnivore? What do you eat?
Vegan. I'm not vegan or vegetarian or anything like that. I eat hamburgers and french fries and all that stuff. Right now, I'm focusing more on protein because I kind of figure my training's pretty solid. And the only 2 areas where I think I can really improve is nutrition and sleep. So I'm trying to eat kind of more protein now. But for training, to answer your question, I might bring a GU, or I'm more likely to bring like a little mini bar and just stop and eat, a little Cliff Mini or something like that, or 2 of them. And then every day, always before running, I have a little bit of oatmeal and blueberries. And then I come back, if it's just a weekday, I come back and eat a regular breakfast. But for the longer runs, usually bring a couple of bars, something like that. Because GU just feels too race-like for me, right? So,
Yeah, I haven't tried to run a marathon for a while, although I did put my hat in the ring for New York. Me and 80,000 other people tried to get in for
right.
free. I'm too slow, so I've run New York twice, and but I had to do charity bibs each time. But what a party that is. There is how about this one? I love to see you out there finishing and smiling. What really piqued my curiosity is that Leslie is not just a big fan of road races, but Leslie is a champion, and there are people who do not run road races primarily who can't get enough of Leslie's running. So one of your besties, as you describe it, Amy is a master
She's amazing. There's no one like her.
trail runner. I, I can't even say enough about how amazing this human is that Leslie and Amy are in photos a lot together, and almost was going to try to get you on together because
That'd be fun.
the power of
Yeah.
community between the two of you is pretty amazing. And I feel there's community support every time I see you out there. But Amy runs not only all these crazy races and wonderful fast races that Leslie runs, but then Amy also goes out there, volunteers all the time. She runs 100Ks like they're nothing. Why would she do that? Because she's running 100-mile races like there's nothing.
Right.
And
Exactly.
she's, for the first time ever, after waiting and trying to get in, she's now going to have the opportunity to toe the line at one of the oldest, most famous 100-mile races, the Western States Endurance Run in the
Yeah.
summer. And so excited for her. So talk to me a little bit about, as a reflection of community, not just your family and local community and the charities you support, but you, because you're out there all over the place, you do also represent this bigger footprint of running in general. Not just you, not just your fast marathon paces, but you're really, when I see the two of you together, I realize the running community is strong. It's strong and it's getting stronger. Do you feel that? Do you feel a part of that? Do you feel a contributor to that?
Absolutely. First of all, Amy, there is no one like her. And what makes her so fascinating is you see people that'll run 5Ks up to marathon, or more likely 5K to 10K. There's a huge group of people who do that. There are people that do marathons and maybe a half once in a while. I've really worked hard to be somebody that can be versatile from the 5K to the marathon, and I've done that fairly well. Amy is 5K to 100 miles. And by the way, you probably know she has a replaced hip. So, and she's 60 now or 61 now. It's just, there's no one like her. So that's her. Yeah, the community is amazing. I think there is a little bit different in the trail community. She knows a lot of people that I don't, and I know a lot of people nationwide and worldwide that that she doesn't. So I've been so lucky. I mean, I've gone to Sydney now 3 times. I've run this. I did the first year I did a different race, but then the last 2 times I did the Sydney Marathon, and I have a friend there that I actually met in Berlin who lives in Sydney, and I went with him to all of his like little run clubs and this and that. And now I have all my friends in Sydney. And when I got back, every last one of them sent me a message through Instagram saying, "So lovely to meet you." And then one of them I met for lunch in Chicago, and now he's going to come meet us in Boston and drive the course with us. To mention my friend George Garcia, the one who's the hashtag Nothing Ever Done Alone. He was my pace leader in this Go St. Louis half marathon in 2016. Who knew, right? 10 years later, we're still really good friends. I see him, a couple of times a year. The guys at Tracksmith and the guys at Bandit, all of these people all over the world. It's amazing. It is such a huge privilege. And one year, I guess it was 2013, I took my kids to Dublin, and there
Okay.
wasn't a race. It was right at New Year's time, and I wanted to find a run to go with, so I went with the Dublin runners. And this guy, Shane O'Malley, I reached out to him through Facebook or something, and he picked me up at my hotel, drove me to the run, invited me to stay after, which I couldn't because we were leaving that day, missed the coffee with the group to take me back to my hotel. And we talked all about, life. And I guess Trump had just been elected and, just what was going on in the world. And there were so many parallels between this, 50-something-year-old guy and 50-something-year-old me. We both had, teenage kids or whatever. And yeah, so, and we're still in touch. So all over the world, the community and running brings us together like nothing else, right? And even, the fast ladies, this lady Gwen, the 320 lady,
Yeah.
and there's several of them that, we all stay connected. And I don't know if you've heard of Jeannie Rice. She's She's 77. She's holds the world record in the marathon and the half, and she's the nicest person you will ever meet, and I met her in London or someplace, and we became friends, and I'm supposed to do a race with her next month. You can't walk 10 feet with her without people stopping you because she's
I'm
so
sure.
famous. She's so famous and deservedly so. So yeah, the community is huge and it doesn't matter how far apart we are. Everybody has Instagram, everybody has cell phones. It's a great, by the way, use of social media. You know, I know we all use it too much, whatever, but it's great for running and to keep people connected.
First celebratory message that I conveyed to anyone was to our friend George. Years ago, when I first saw you, I wasn't active on Instagram, but I was trying to follow you and figure out what you were doing. Your posts, and immediately I thought, she can't be doing this herself but now I realize this is just how great you are. But so from Facebook to Instagram to other Instagram posts to you're a master, Leslie, and that when you take the photograph of the night before the race and you put all your gear on the bed and you got it laid out and you take a photograph of that and you thank every person that's gotten you there up to that point in time and I'm thinking, she's got a race in the morning. What is she how is she that's the first thing I did. I think it was George. This is the day before the race. And it's literally like, look at how this woman lives in gratitude. And
I
I
do.
think,
That I do.
and when
Thank
I
you.
see it, it makes us all feel a little more appreciative, a little more grateful, I think. And certainly every time I take one of those photos, I'm thinking of you. Like, okay, wait, is this lined up right? Where's my underwear? Oh, I don't need my underwear there. But I mean, it's
I
like
put it
that. I'm like, wait,
underneath now.
Leslie, yeah, Leslie puts her socks in there. I'm going to put my socks in there. That's how I can.
Socks in. And
Yes.
your fuel. Well, because, you know, for you also you want to give screen credit. There's an Australian company called Revies, and they make the little caffeine strips. I'll give you some.
Okay.
And it's like a little breath strip you put on your tongue. Probably be actually great for ultra. Um, and
On your tongue.
yeah, you just it's like a little piece of paper. You put it in your
Okay.
mouth, it sort of sticks to the roof of your mouth, and you leave it there, and then it
Ravi,
dissolves.
Ravie.
Revvies, Revies. And my friend Patrick introduced me to them in 2019, and I became their first US ambassador. And they've always supported my 5K event, and they've supported me, and they've become very dear friends of mine. So I want to always thank them. I always put their product out there and I tag them because they should, right?
You
Because
should, right. I
they keep
appreciate
getting
that.
credit. So
And it wasn't my objective, but, almost every time, every interview I have, and I try to keep it in the show, you know, everybody carries with them something that they really wanna use. You gotta use this thing. I love this thing. And I spoke with, Katrin Corbett, one of the greatest, 200-mile runners more than anybody, all those kinds of things. And she said, "Yeah, I just get out of the aid station, I grab my walking tamale, and I get out there on the road." And I was like, "Oh, that sounds cool. Walking tamale, like they have tamales?" And she said, "No, Mark, look it up. It's a thing, walking tamale." And so I'm
what
like, what is she talking about? I searched it, walking tamale. Sure enough, it's a packaged good. It's got like 40 grams of carbs, 200 or 400 milligrams of sodium. It's exactly what you need as an ultra runner in the middle of the night.
right?
And it's real. It's like hard food. It's real food. Anyway, so thank you for the Revies, for mentioning it. I'm glad I brought up that
Yeah, I'll give you
photo.
some.
I'm glad I brought up the photo. Okay, now we've gone full circle, let's go back to this. Aging is voluntary. How do you feel Leslie's gonna carry that phrase, aging is voluntary, when you're 80?
That's a daunting number. 70 is a little hard to take. Um, but
Sorry, yeah,
I think
I didn't mean to.
I'll probably do what I've done at 70, which is to go, okay, it's a big number. I don't care. I'm in better shape than people half of my age. And it's great for age group winning. So that's kind of how to do it. Um, my kids help a lot because they keep me young and they see me as young. And Phoebe always says she'll say that Phoebe is a millennial and her mom is Gen Z. So the kids, they back me up all the way. And also, I have so many friends that are in their 20s and 30s. I've always been one of those people that I never cared how old anyone was or what their walk of life. My best friend was a parking valet who was a undocumented immigrant from Guatemala, and unfortunately, he passed away. But I don't care where anyone's from. I don't care how old they are. None of that matters to me, and I've always been that way. So that helps too. And in running, so many of my friends are a bit younger or a lot younger, and I just hang around with that. It's not a barrier. I know there's a couple people I know that I feel like they think it's a barrier, and I haven't got as close to them because they seem to be a little more standoffish. But for the most part, nobody else cares either, right? So I just stay young and hang around with whoever I want.
I love how you just phrased that. That made me think of someone. One person did come to mind recently that I think he embraced this idea that he's old. And I think as something's running around social media that Clint Eastwood said, and Morgan Freeman repeated it, maybe it was on Jimmy Fallon recently or something like this, or maybe it just was on my feed, that the key is don't let the old man in. Don't let
Yeah,
the old man in, and you
yeah.
won't be the old man, right? And I think that's very powerful. Um,
Oh,
I can't run with people usually who are younger than me. I mean, I love to. I'm a great cheerleader for people who are younger than me who are running because I'm just, slower. And I don't care. I'm fine, but
you're doing it. That's all that matters.
yeah, for me, I'm fine. It's just I'm
Yeah,
like, no, you go ahead. I'll see you. Go on, keep running.
yeah,
Lap me. The next time
yeah,
I'll say hello. Next time you pass me. Come on, don't stop. Don't stop for me. All right, here we
yeah.
go. Last couple of things. It's just like a lightning round. I want to hear this because you've got a lot of data inside your brain. I want to pull it out right before we go. Of all of them, what's your favorite major race? Of
Sydney.
Sydney.
I'd say for course that my favorite course of the majors would probably be Berlin, but I love Sydney. I love the Sydney Marathon. I love the people in Sydney. And when I did it this year or this past year in 2025, it was my second time doing it. And I just felt so happy the whole time. It's so beautiful there. I love the people there. I can't get enough of Sydney, Australia. So that became my new favorite of all the marathons that I've done. But for course, Berlin is the best course.
Okay. What's the toughest finish that you've ever had? Like you were like you, di- you not happy with it.
You mean in terms of like not getting the result that I wanted?
Whatever, however you define it. Yeah. What was the toughest setback or toughest
Well,
loss in a
I'm
race?
one of those people that like I have a friend who ran a 3:10. And then after that, she didn't run it again. And every time she'd say, "I'll be happy as long as I get a 3:10." And I'm like, "No, that is not a good idea." I'm not that person. I'm like, "I'm happy. I crossed that finish line. I'm happy." I would say the most challenging one that I ever did in my life was Boston 2018. We had 39 degrees, 39-mile-an-hour winds, and rain blowing into our face like a fire hose. And I was so uncomfortable and so freezing cold and so soaking wet. And Rob had bought me this beautiful jacket from England with the hood. It didn't matter. I was soaked. It was just miserable. And I tend to run kind of cold anyway. I'm usually the only one with long sleeves. So that was my most uncomfortable. And I finished it in about a 4:05, and I was just so happy to get inside. So that was, not a fast time for me, but I was no excuses. I'm like, I'm happy to be done. I finished in 4 hours ish, and it's all good. That was I'd say was my toughest. One year in New York, I want to say it was 2017. Um, it was a beautiful day, but a little bit warm, which wouldn't normally bother me, but for some reason my legs started cramping up. It was the same thing. I came in over 4 hours and I was really uncomfortable and struggled to the end. And then I would say also New York. I mean, that's the one I've done the most. New York in 2023. I think it was, yeah, I think it was 2023. I was getting sick. I was coming down with something. It wasn't COVID. They never knew. I think it was probably RSV or something. And I got really sick towards the end. I actually ended up with a really good finish time anyway, because I was so far ahead of myself. So I only ran like 3:38, which, especially for New York, for me is excellent. But I just felt really, really horrible. So I judge it more on how I feel than on the finish time. I'd say that.
I think that's wisdom right there. That after you've been running for years, if you're going to keep running, yeah, you don't want to tell yourself, as long as I get an XYZ time, that'll
You
kill you, I
can't.
think. But
I mean, I guess you can, but it's just a bad idea because we're here to enjoy it, right? And we start setting these, it's fun to have goals and stuff, but I want to have a good time. I'm doing it because I want to have fun.
do you
So
ever, or have you ever run a race for like redemption? Meaning you were disappointed in something that you could impact and control in the race in the past. And so you're going to go back to it and see if you can control for that variable.
definitely, yes. I can't remember one offhand, but all the time.
Ah,
Whenever I have a bad race, the next one, all I want to do is race again so I can do better. So
okay. And you go back to races all the time, right? Any advice to a 45-year-old professional who runs a little bit and then you need to give them some advice? They're 45 years old.
I would say 45. If they're 45, they probably have kids at home. And so it's probably harder for them to get out. It's very easy for me because my kids are grown up. Um, so be kind to yourself. Go out there when you can and have fun with it. Don't pressure yourself. If you find, you get into it, you want to really start training more, great. But more important, just get out there, have fun, have fun with it.
How about a
And and they're welcome to
65-year-old?
call me with they're welcome to call me with any questions.
Well, look at that. Oh my goodness. Advice from the goat. What about a 65-year-old person?
65, I would say remember that aging is voluntary. Remember that and go have fun with it. Just go out and don't let those numbers define you. It's just you're not helping anybody and you're only hurting yourself. So at least
That's it.
it's working for me so
That's
far.
it. Drop the microphone, ladies and gentlemen. That's it. That's really all we need. We need the first minute of the podcast and the last minute of the podcast.
You
And
can scratch
actually,
the
that's
rest.
everything. That's everything. Leslie, you are fantastic. Thank you so much for joining. I appreciate you being on and giving us, sharing us with some of this wisdom. It's quite ageless. So it is ageless, isn't it? It's ageless and timeless. So it doesn't matter how old we are, I think.
Age is just a number. So, well, thank you so much. This was so much fun. I really appreciate it, Mark, and I'll talk to you soon.
I'll talk to you
Bye.
soon. Okay.
Bye-bye. Thank you.